KNSU is a classic example of a redox reaction, where an oxidizer donates electrons to a fuel, which releases a bunch of heat. In our case, the potassium nitrate reacts with sugar to generate a lot of heat, steam, as well as a bunch of other products. Now this balanced equation over here is highly idealized. In the real world, it'll probably generate nitrous oxides, potassium hydroxide, as well as a few other things. Now since I don't care too much about the products, this equation will do just fine. If you do the stoichiometry, you'll find that the ideal propellant mixture is 74% oxidizer to 26% fuel, by weight of course. Surprisingly though, the ratio used by amateur rocket enthusiasts is closer to 65 to 35. Now there are a few reasons for this. One of the big reasons is the high melting point of potassium nitrate. Since potassium nitrate has such a high melting point, more oxidizer will make it impossible to melt and to cast the propellant into a casing. Another reason is that rockets are designed to generate as much thrust as possible per unit weight, or in other words, the highest specific impulse. And generally this doesn't occur at the ideal stoichiometric ratios. Another reason is that at the ideal stoichiometric ratios, that's where the most heat is generated. And you might think that heat is a good thing for rocket engines, but keep in mind you don't want to burn a hole through your rocket motor. So yeah, we're going to be sticking with this ratio right here.
If you just mix the solid components of rocket fuel together, the mixture is actually pretty junky. So I need to find a better method of doing this. Now I don't recommend doing any dangerous chemistry, but if you do, make sure to take proper precautions, just in case something explodes in your face.
Oh shit.
This stuff managed to burn through aluminum in just 1 second. So yeah, this is nothing to mess around with. I started by measuring out 130 grams of potassium nitrate with 70 grams of sugar, and then I mixed them together in an aluminum pie tin. The potassium nitrate and sugar were still very granular, so I dissolved them in water to ensure an even mix and smaller particle size. I then heated the mixture on a hot plate in order to boil off the water and to caramelize the sugar. Interestingly, when you heat sugar, it actually doesn't melt. Instead, it decomposes into fructose and glucose, which is what causes that brown caramelized color. Pretty cool, right?
There's no way of checking the temperature on this thing or setting an exact temperature. So what I ended up doing was getting a bit of the rocket fuel onto this thermometer probe and sticking it in on here. If it exploded, then that means it's too hot. And then I found a nice sweet spot right at actually very close to the low setting. And it looks like it's right about done. It's all nice and brown, it's still heating up a bit.
I made some redneck test casings by adding a duct tape bottom to these toilet paper rolls. This is what I'll stuff the rocket fuel into.
Mixture ended up being really crumbly, and I just stuffed it in there and tried to ram it down with a stick. But with this one I kind of worried that there might be air pockets, so this one may be the exploding variety.
I actually divided my rocket fuel into 3 separate containers, each of which I fired separately. Here you see me trying to ignite the casing with all of the air pockets. I'm having a bit of a hard time, possibly due to moisture that got in overnight.